Sam Seder, Emma Vigland on the Majority Report. It is a pleasure to welcome, I think, back to the program. It's been quite a while. Senator
Prior
Bernie,
to my time.
I think so. Well, yeah, maybe even as the podcast. Senator Bernie Sanders, senator from Vermont. Thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure.
Let's start with, we are recording this on Tuesday, but on Wednesday in the House, they're going to be voting on the NDAA. Wanted to get your sense of what is going on with our military spending. The House is actually pushing for $8 billion more than Donald Trump is asking. It feels like that's been going on for years now, where Congress is sort of outstripping the president's request for more money for the military.
It has been going on for years, and thank you for raising the issue. It is not talked about enough. So when we talk about the defense bill, we talk about this aspect of it, we talk about that aspect of it, but we don't look at the bill in its totality, which is to say that when you add everything up, what's in the defense authorization bill plus other military spending, we are spending over $1 trillion a year on the military. This is something like 9 times more than it's more than the next 9 nations combined, including many of our allies. And it takes place when we have the highest rate of childhood poverty and senior poverty of almost any major country on earth. So it's an absurd priority. Primarily, it's a gift to the military industrial complex, who make all kinds of money.
We just interviewed somebody who wrote a book called The $1 Trillion War Machine. From your perspective, where is there a weak link in terms of like beginning to move this budget in the opposite direction? I'm old enough to remember the peace dividend that we never really saw. Right. What's the idea?
What is said, I mean, not shocking, if people know my views, is the Democratic leadership cooperates with the Republicans. This truly is a bipartisan effort to give huge amounts of money to the military-industrial complex. I think the antidote is to have a national conversation and a movement which is determined to change our national priorities. Several years ago, and I helped write the American Rescue Plan, in one bill, with one provision, we cut childhood poverty in America by 40%. One bill, one provision. All right. So it's a question of getting our priorities right. We don't need to be spending more than the next 9 nations combined. What we need to be doing is investing in our people, in childcare, in education, in infrastructure, not just more money for the military.
And you can see how these are connected. Not to bring it back to the election, but I do think it's important when we're reflecting and speaking about how the issue of, say, the genocide in Gaza, for example, and the way that young people were completely disaffected by that. When I got into politics, it was in part because Obama was in opposition to the Iraq War, and that galvanized me as a young person. In terms of reorienting our national priorities, where do you see the Democrats going in both connecting the income inequality piece to this, but also in terms of repairing broken trust about the anti-war energy that's so important in bringing young people on board?
Well, Emma, thanks for that question. I mean, there was once a time, and I'm old enough to remember it, where a significant percentage of Democratic elected officials stood strongly against unnecessary military spending. And I fear that that is not quite the case. Many of the Democratic establishments are worried that they're going to be soft on defense, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, it ties in not only to the horrific support that we have given Netanyahu and the Israeli military, tens of billions of dollars over a period of years to destroy the people in Gaza, but it speaks to the military literally out on the streets in American cities today. One might think that when you have the President of the United States for the first time sending U.S. troops into cities in America, somebody might say, wait a second, why are we putting more money into the military? That's a little bit too radical a concept for many of my colleagues.
Senator, I want to just reference your book. You spent the summer into the fall on an anti-oligarchy tour. You wrote a book on the more or less the same topic. From your perspective, and I know in 2016, you entered the race, and much of it was like getting money out of politics. The Supreme Court has, as far as I can tell, shut the door on that prospect, and very well may be opening it up to even more money going forward. What do you see? Again, this is another sort of like broader question about breaking this cycle. Like, what do you see? Is there a sequence? Like, how do you tackle the oligarchy? Is there anything that needs to come first?
I think, Sam, ordinary Americans, and not just people who are inclined to be Democrats, understand that this country faces fundamental systemic crises, okay? Not small stuff. What does that mean? I mean, it's what my book was about. And by the way, if I may say so, it's a good book. And what it talks about, what we do not as a nation talk about, but people want to hear more about, is the fact that you have a handful, a small number of extraordinarily wealthy people. Elon Musk now owns more wealth than the bottom 52% of American households. Now, just deal with that. One guy, more wealth than the bottom 52% of American households. Don't you think that might be a subject of enormous discussion and debate? The outrageous nature, the inequality of that, the power that goes to that. Meanwhile, Musk, again, spends $270 million to help Trump get elected. And then you have these guys, the autocrats doing business in Saudi Arabia, cut up. So what you are seeing is a global oligarchic movement where a handful of the wealthiest people all over the world, in a sense, are dividing up the planet. You cannot run away from that issue. It is insane that the top 1% owns more wealth than the bottom 93%. Billionaires are flourishing, never done better. And 60% of Americans in the richest country on earth are living paycheck to paycheck. All right, so I don't want to proselytize here, but am I missing something in suggesting that this is an issue of enormous importance?
I don't think you're missing anything.
No.
You're preaching to the choir here, but back to just a little bit about where we go in the future with the Democratic Party. I'm encouraged to see there be this coalescing behind the buzzword of affordability. It's the step in the right direction, but oligarchy versus affordability feels like kind of the fault lines here.
Don't be naive on me here. I mean, that's just a poll-driven word. What do you mean?
Fair enough.
What does the establishment mean? Oh, yes,
Right.
Trump is driving up prices. Terrible. Vote him out. All right, that's fine. But what do we mean? Its affordability is not just the fact that Republicans are resisting extending the ACA tax credits, which means that premiums are going to, on average, double for 20 plus million Americans. That's a disaster. But when you talk about affordability, you tell me how many establishment Democrats are asking the simplest of all questions. What's the first question you ask about healthcare? Duh. Why are we spending twice as much per person on healthcare as the people of any other major nation? And yet we have 85 million uninsured or underinsured. Is that not the first question you might ask? That's affordability. All right? But that's not quite a question we are happy to ask, because you know what? You're going to start tangling with the insurance companies and the hospitals and the drug companies. So let's stay away from that issue. We'll stay with the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, which is a disaster, frankly. So you got prescription drug prices. I mean, we've worked very hard on it with some success. In some cases, we pay 10 times more than other countries do for the same exact drug. That's an affordability issue. You're going to have to take on the pharmaceutical industry big time. So my suggestion is we got to make it more than just a slogan, a poll-driven slogan. We got to go further. Housing, all right? What do you do about housing?
Wages.
I got to tell you,
Yeah.
I underestimated this problem. I got to admit that. In my state, it is unbelievable, but it's all over this country. you're seeing working people paying 50% of their incomes in housing, for housing. That's insane. All right. So if you're going to talk about affordability, what do? How do you build millions of units of low income and affordable housing? Those are the issues we've got to be tackling.
Is there? I mean, it seems to me that the problem with the oligarchy is that the money that they have, these differences in this wealth disparity translates into political disparity. So how do you break that cycle? It's one thing to say we're going to fight the insurance companies, but it's tricky to fight the insurance companies.
Or AI, artificial intelligence as well. Okay, so what do you got to do? First of all, I mean, I think, as you indicated earlier, this Supreme Court decision on Citizens United has done more to undermine American democracy than any decision, I think, in American history. So one way or another, we got to get rid of it. And you're seeing states moving in the right direction.
Right.
New York City, for example.
Matching funds, right.
We got to get around this issue. We cannot allow billionaires and their super PACs to buy elections, and it is getting worse, all right? One of the issues that I have been talking about, very concerned about, is the impact of AI and robotics on the economy and many other things, all right? I think what you're asking is, how, in fact, do you take on a group like Ellison and Musk and Bezos and these guys combined worth, hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars? And they start their super PACs, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that has got to be a major political issue. If I'm running for office, I say, not only am I not going to take corporate PACs, we got to address the fact that we have a corrupt, and that's the word, campaign finance system. And you want to get my vote, you're running for office, you want to get my vote, you got to have way up on your list of priorities ending this corrupt campaign finance system. But ultimately, Sam, all of these issues, the economy, campaign finance, AI, healthcare, require a grassroots political movement that is prepared to take on the big money interests that fight for working people. And I'm happy to say that in bits and pieces and here and there, we are making progress. Mamdani's victory in New York, Katie Wilson's victory in Seattle, those are not small things.
And do you think, I'm going to assume that you're not running for president in 2028, but please correct me if I'm wrong. But be that as it may, do you feel that we are at the point now where advocating for a Medicare for all is what it's going to take for a candidate to win the Democratic primary this year? Or I should say in 28, this cycle?
Look, it is no secret. Sam, I get all over the country, and when the crowd is not at 30,000 and it's a small crowd, I ask people, I say, you tell me, is the American healthcare system broken? Yeah, it is. Everybody knows that it is broken, okay? You cannot go around defending the Affordable Care Act when rates have soared, and in many ways it's just a subsidy for the insurance companies, all right? So we need to move in an aggressively different way. I believe Medicare for all is the way to provide cost-effective universal health care to every man, woman, and child in this country. I think more and more people understand that. And just in the last few weeks, we have two new co-sponsors in the Senate. Chris Van Hollen and Tina Smith came on board. We're up to, I think, 18 or 19. They got 100 or more co-sponsors in the House. So we are making some progress. But we need to do is make sure that in any serious campaign, and I do that, if I endorse somebody, almost always, that person is going to be supporting Medicare for all.
It speaks, I think, to a broader problem here where so much of what the Democrats are offering or are not is defensive. It's about defending the Affordable Care Act. It's about saying we're going to maintain a certain system. And when the system is, as what we say, when we're at gilded age levels of income and wealth inequality, you sound like you are defending the system that's immiserating people, and Trump sounds like he's changing things.
You got it. I mean, Emma, that's exactly right. Look, Trump, in essence, when he runs for president, says the system is broken and I will fix it, right? Now, you and I know that everything he's doing, or virtually everything he's doing, is making a bad situation worse. But what Democrats try to do is tinker around the edges. If your income is $43,927, you will be eligible for something. It's enormously complicated. You have to fill out 18 pages, but we'll get you that. All right. What we need to say is the system, what I would call uber capitalism, is an incredibly broken system. Let's just go through it. Bear with me for 1 second. All right. Richest country in the history of the world. More income and wealth inequality than we have ever had. Richest people doing phenomenally well. 60% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck. Healthcare system broken. Educational system, childcare dysfunctional, widely expensive, workers underpaid. Kids can't afford to go to college. We once used to have a higher percentage of college graduates than any other country on earth. We were the best educated country on earth. That ain't the case right now. Kids coming out deeply in debt, okay? Other countries say, we want a well-educated workforce. We will guarantee you quality higher education. Don't worry about the money. Our public school system in deep trouble. We are not attracting the best and the brightest teachers. Teachers are asked to deal with disasters in their classroom. Kids who are have troubles disrupting the class. Bottom line is, last international exams we saw, the United States of America was something like 37th place. Got it? In terms of math, science, writing, and so forth and so on. Housing, a disaster. Transportation, try getting on a plane and seeing if you're going to get any place on time. It ain't going to happen. So if you look at the food, you got the food industry and essentially, giving our kids crap, which causes obesity, which causes diabetes, and a number of other illnesses. See, if you look at the basic necessities of life, health, education, nutrition, housing, we're not doing well. We are doing rather poorly. So we need a radical and fundamental transformation of American society, a government that works for everybody, not just Mr. Musk and his friends.
When you look at what has taken place over the past 11 months, I don't think we have seen a more destructive force in terms of just the apparatus of our government, whether it's Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the NLRB, the IRS, the Department of Education, on and on and on. The institutions themselves, the flow of people through it, the institutional memory, all of this destroyed in a way that I feel like we've never experienced in modern times.
We have never experienced before. Sam, let's see who we are dealing with. We're dealing with the president who really does not believe in the Constitution. When he has a lavish dinner and wonderful events for MBS, the dictator of Saudi Arabia, that's not an accident. And then he disparages Europe. What is that about? This is his idea of what government should be about. MBS, as you know, in Saudi Arabia, it's $1 trillion family, the wealthiest family in the world. They imprison, torture their political opponents. They do whatever they want to do, building cities and so forth and so on. That is Trump's vision of what government should be about. So in the process, you're going to act illegally. And the other thing, and unconstitutionally, you're going to destroy every agency of government that works for working families. And the other thing you do, and this is really disgusting, it goes a step deeper than destroying this or that agency, whether it's the FDA or the Center for Disease Control. What demagogues always do is they say, you know what? Our country has a lot of problems. Everybody's saying, yeah, I've got a lot of problems. And you know who the cause of that problem is? It is in Europe. It's the Jews, it's the Gypsies, it's this group. In the United States, it's blacks, it's gays. And now it is the undocumented people, or it is those people from Somalia. That is the problem that we are having. You get rid of those people, man, you're going to get a really wonderful country. That is what demagogues, and that is the disgusting aspect of demagoguery. Rather than saying, all right, look, we got problems. How do you deal with the housing crisis? How do you deal with the healthcare crisis? You know, I have my views, you may have your views, Trump may have his views, but we don't even deal with those things. What we do is blame powerless minorities, and you rally the American people around vitriol and hatred. Really, a president of the United States calling a country garbage? People of a country? Really? That's what we're trying to educate our kids to do? So it is a deep issue. And what is the antidote? The antidote to that, in my view, is the need to rally the American people around an understanding the system is broken. And here is how we fix it. And if we get divided up because you're gay and I'm straight, or you're from Somalia and I'm from New York or Vermont or wherever I'm from, they are going to win. So the message is that you have a movement of people, in Mamdani, in a very effective way, did that in New York. Massive numbers of volunteers, black, white, Latino, gay, straight, the whole works. That's what we need to do. And you can't do that, though. You know, Democratic establishment, well, how did he do it? Well, you can only do it if you have an agenda that excites people, that moves people. And if the establishment doesn't, which it doesn't, you're not going to do that. So we are trying to build, we're supporting really great candidates in the Senate, in the House, who understand those realities.
Last question. You mentioned Mamdani. How important is it that he deliver on those explicit campaign promises that he made around affordability, around the buses, about general improvement in life in New York City? Like, how important is it to the movement that you're talking about?
Enormously important. I do not envy this 36-year-old guy. I really don't. I was just with him last week, and we spent a lot of time together. Running New York City, man. I mean, people talk about it. I think correctly is the second most difficult job in the world, in the country. I mean, among many other things, he has 1 million kids in his school system. How's that? That's just an aside, on top of all the other problems that he faces. So the point is, what the establishment, what the Democratic establishment, what the oligarchs, what the Republicans want him to do is to fail. All right? Enormous pressure on this young man's shoulders. They want him to fail so they can go around saying, see, democratic socialism, he talked a good game, he wasn't able to do anything. Vote for the establishment. That's your only hope. Vote for the Cuomos of the world. So there is enormous pressure. Everybody in the world, I mean, you got the entire establishment going to be on him, trying to see that he fails. But if he can deliver, if he can, and by the way, between you and me, don't tell anybody, his agenda is not terribly radical.
No.
Yes.
In a city where nobody can afford to live, to say that you stabilize rents, not exactly a radical idea. When everybody knows how important childcare is to a human being's development, making it universal, high quality, and free, not a radical idea. It exists in many other countries. Improving public transportation, not a radical idea. Making sure that kids in underserved areas can get decent quality food with government intervention, really not a radical idea. So I will do everything I can, and I hope everybody in this country will too, try to make sure that he succeeds. And there's just a lot of responsibility on his shoulders.
I imagine those who stand against Mamdani are less concerned about his policies actually working and more concerned about the broader sense of like what is possible and what can be done if he succeeds.
What a disaster for the establishment. If he succeeds, if you create a democratic form of government with a small d, where large numbers of people involved, you improve the schools, you improve healthcare, you improve transportation, you improve getting nutrition out to kids, you stabilize the cost of housing and build affordable housing. What a disaster for the Trumps of the world and the Republican establishment and the Democratic establishment. And all of those folks are going to be working as hard as they can to make sure that he does not succeed. So your point is, for better or worse, Mamdani's success and failures will not only impact New York City, they will be felt, by the way, not only nationally, but I think internationally. The whole world was watching this campaign. So again, I wish this young man all the very best, and we will do what we can to support him.
Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont, thank you so much for your time today. Really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys. Take care.
Thank you.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.